Good evening. I'd like to welcome you to episode number 91 of the Wright Experience. I'm Dr. William T. Wright Jr., the founder and host of this show. I'm absolutely excited to bring you another episode of an amazing leader who has done some amazing work in the United States and abroad. And so tonight's guest comes from the state of Massachusetts. And actually, tonight, she is the first guest that we've had from the state of Massachusetts. I had the opportunity to meet her at a AASA, which is the American Association of School Administrators Conference in San Antonio, Texas, a few weeks ago. She's doing some amazing work in an amazing district. And we're looking forward to talking with her more tonight, right here on the Wright Experience. Our guest tonight is Dr. Elizabeth Beth Hallett. Dr. Elizabeth Beth Hallett has been a public school educator for over 20 years and is currently the superintendent of Nantucket Public Schools in Nantucket, Massachusetts. Prior to her current position, Dr. Hallett spent 17 years as an ESL teacher, a high school department head, a director of English learner education, and finally, director of secondary education in the Quincy Public Schools just south of Boston, Massachusetts. Her passion for the environment, languages, and diverse cultures has been threaded throughout her career, stemming from her undergraduate and graduate studies in environmental education, Italian studies, and English language acquisition at Dickinson College, Simmons University, and the University of New England. These passions converge in her current role as superintendent of a very diverse island community where she is dedicated to building strong relationships with students, staff, families, and all islanders. She is also a strong supporter of career, technical, and vocational education, as well as United Arts, and is committed to strengthening and expanding the current Nantucket Public Schools vocational offerings and music and arts programs. And at this time, I'd like to welcome my new friend, Dr. Beth Hallett, to the Wright Experience. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wright. It's such a pleasure to be here.
I'm absolutely excited to have you here. Once I heard a little bit about the uniqueness of your district, I was certainly thrilled and looking forward to having the opportunity to talk with you tonight. So, Dr. Hallett, if you will, just start out by telling us a little bit about the Nantucket Public Schools and all that's going on in that amazing school district.
Absolutely. So for those who are not familiar with Nantucket, we are a small island community 30 miles off the southern coast of Massachusetts. So that means we are quite isolated. You can only get to and from Nantucket with a boat or an airplane or your arms. You got to swim over.
Okay.
Our district is small. Our community is small. We have about 18,000 year-round residents in the community. So that means about 1,700 students. That swells in the summer months to approximately 100,000 residents as we invite summer residents and summer tourists to enjoy the wonders of the island of Nantucket. Our district is so diverse, it's really incredible. If you've ever seen information about Nantucket or you have done a Google search or anything, you might consider it to be very, very unique, very interesting around the history and the wealth of historical context in Nantucket. Nantucket was the whaling capital of the world in the 1800s, and such has maintained some of its wealth. We have a very wealthy summer resident population, and it is not cheap to live and work on the island. It is very interesting, though, in that our district really supplies education and offers educational experiences to the year-round residents, which tend to be part of the infrastructure of the town. So we are educating children of teachers, town employees, DPW workers, firefighters, police, and hospital workers, and they are really the heart, so to speak, of keeping the island running. So it is a very interesting dynamic that we have. The majority of our students are actually children of color. We have a white minority, about 46% and 54% children of color, which again, if you ever Google Nantucket, you might never think that that would be the case, because
Uh-huh.
what you would see is very wealthy folks sitting and sipping their cocktails by the beach. But that said, it is a wonderfully diverse area. We have a lot of non-English speaking families, which is really, I believe, multilingual families and students really add to the rich fabric of our community and of our district. About 35% of our families speak languages other than English at home, and around 20% are English learners, as in they are still receiving English services as they are improving their English. We have a strong vocational program, as it is important to home grow some of our industries on the island. We have a very, very vibrant automotive program, woodworking program that also connects to some of our contractors. There's a lot of building going on in this island all the time. And we have a great culinary department as well. So with some award-winning competitions. So that's exciting. We are building and expanding our programs with innovation pathways, which will permit us to delve a little bit into the marine mechanics industry, which is a real need here on the island. And we are also really expanding our nursing program. We are always looking for healthcare workers here on the island. It is quite difficult to maintain healthcare services, consistent healthcare services. So if we can contribute to some folks leaving our schools and heading into the medical field and then staying on the island to be able to continue that, we are very proud of that. But we still have a very high expectation of academic achievement. We've got a lot of folks, a lot of our students, our seniors graduate and head on to four-year colleges. We have an excellent reputation for that, and it's very exciting. There's a lot going on all the time on the island, and really an interesting place to live and an interesting place to be a superintendent, with all of the joys and some of the great challenges as well.
So that's a interesting and unique situation. You know, when we were talking out in San Antonio, I said, "Wow, that's unique. That's a unique opportunity, and certainly sounds like you've got some amazing, proud moments to talk about." So, tell me about your ability to recruit and retain, and some of the challenges and good points that you.
Sure. So recruitment and retention is really, I would say, and you can certainly attest to this, Dr. Wright, this is really such an important topic that all superintendents and school administrators are talking about. We are really in a crisis with teacher retention. We are in a crisis with leadership retention. And Nantucket is suffering just like anyone else, but we have some added issues. So to start with teacher recruitment and retention, we do everything that we can to invite people to the island to understand more about what it is about. And as we brand ourselves, it is really important that we make it clear that we are not what you might see in some of the magazines, the travel magazines. We are quite diverse, and that's exciting. And that we have 40 different countries and cultures represented on our island. That's the interesting piece. There are a lot of languages spoken in our schools. And I said, it really develops the richness of the fabric of our community. And so we want to make sure that teachers are aware of this and that they are excited by this and consider us if they are interested in a more urban area, or they are looking to work with a certain type of student. We definitely have plenty to offer here. And because we are isolated, we often have to create some of our own programs. In some cases, districts have the ability to reach out to a collaborative or a group that can take out of district students. Because we want to keep our families together, we have to do some of that work ourselves. So we do have programs and services that are for some of our more severely needy students, and that's important. So we want to make sure that teachers who are interested in coming to Nantucket and being part of our community really understand all of the advantages and the excitement about being in a community like this. Retention is always challenging. Island life is not for everyone.
Right.
However, we do our best to support our new teachers. We have some new teacher appreciation opportunities. We have a good mentoring program where we support new teachers and have events that are available for them to get to know each other, to get to know the district, to get to know the community. And we're still working on that. We are still exploring areas and ways that we can reach out to universities, and offer opportunities for student teaching on the island, things like that. So those are some areas that we are exploring and trying to make better. We try to hit all of the local job fairs and district, really national and local job fairs, so that we can really can promote our island and some of the great things in our district. So those are some things that we do. I'm sure we can talk about more. I'd love to hear what your district does, and what you've heard from others, and then continue the conversation that way.
So you talked about the diversity of language in your district, and there's a push for us because of the lack of teachers that we get from the United States. So a lot of us now are tapping into the international market. Is that something that you all are doing as well?
We are. We haven't done as much as we probably could and should. We are, but we are certainly doing so around our language programs, around our English learner education programs. And we're also trying to home grow as much as we can. We are trying to put some some systems in place. One of the new vocational areas I'd really like to explore and start with is early childhood education. We want to make sure we can build a program so that some students who are currently in the high school might be interested in following through with that, and we can support that and begin their journey and hopefully lure them back when they have finished college. As far as the looking for international recruitment, that is definitely an area that we are open to and starting to develop and learn more about. So
wonderful, and you mentioned something that's kind of near and dear to my heart. I grew up a business teacher, and so I understand the importance of vocational education. So let's delve into that a little bit more about the uniqueness of your district. Obviously, you're in an island. You're on an island, but I'm sure, just as all of us do, there's a push now for us to prepare children and young folks to go into vocational education. So talk about that, some of the things that you're doing and why
absolutely,
you feel it's important. Yeah.
it is very important to us, and really not just for the well-being of the students, but
Sure.
also the well-being of our island community.
There you
I
go.
won't even tell you how challenging it is to find a plumber on the island who's available. I can count them on one hand. So it is really important for us to offer opportunities for our students to go in that direction. There is very good compensation for those careers. We see a lot of our students who may be pushed or may have been pushed towards secondary education, college, community college. Then they go off island and they try it out and realize that they really would like to just return and work in a family business. So we want to prepare them. We want to make sure that they are prepared and they have pathways to move in the vocations. And as I mentioned, we're looking at expanding in hospitality. Without a question, that is such a key piece of our economy here on the island. We have hundreds of thousands of people who come every year as tourists, either day trippers or people who spend their summers here or enjoy a week vacation. So hospitality is such a key. That is an area we want to explore. I mentioned early childhood education. We see that as a fantastic pathway. Our nursing program is growing, and we really hope that we can build that so that our hospital has a good supply of nurses and people in the medical profession, so that they can continue their careers here on the island. And then I'd like to see more in the areas that we do have a lack of folks here on the island who can support, such as plumbing, such as HVAC, electricians. We also have a kind of a lack of electricians here on the island. So I would love to see those programs, as best as we can create them and support them, be available to our students. We also want to make sure that they know that college is, we will offer you every chance you can have to go to college, but we will also offer you anything that you would like and help you get there if it's not college. And that is an honorable and very important part of our economy and of our life today.
Absolutely. And Dr. Hallett, I like to call that, when I'm talking to young folks and talking to families of juniors and seniors in particular, I call that level next. We want to make sure that you are prepared for level next, whatever that is, and for some people that is a 4-year university. And as you so eloquently stated, sometimes that is a career in a trade, community college. And we're okay with that, because we're going to need all of that moving forward. So, and we've got to do a better job, I think, nationwide, of educating people that the goal is to have a level next when you're graduating from high school. So
I absolutely agree. And I think it's important that, although I think in the past, the last 20 years, there has been a real push towards college.
Sure.
Students need to go to college. That's how they're going to be successful and get a high-paying job. And that is not necessarily the truth these days.
That's right.
Certainly here on Nantucket, you can make quite a bit as a contractor, as someone who does roofing, someone who is a plumber or electrician. And I will tell you, in some cases, a lot more money than if you go to college to study literature or music or history. Now, again, I have absolutely no problem supporting students to go for their dreams and do what they think they really want to study and then eventually become as they move to level next, as you say. But I want to make sure that there is a clear pathway for them,
right,
so that they have all the supports needed in order to reach the level next, whatever it may be.
I love it. I love it. That's absolutely, and that's the business that we're in. Our job is to prepare them, however, and individualize the preparation as much as possible for whatever that next step is. So thank you for that.
Thanks.
So, Dr. Hallett, let's talk a little bit about the future of education. I don't know if we're through COVID or almost through COVID. Depends on who you talk to on what day. But if we could look in a crystal ball 5-10 years down the road, what are some things that you think are essential to our continued success as public school units?
That's a very good question. I will do my best to answer with the short knowledge I have. But I think that one of the biggest things is to be flexible. We learned very quickly in COVID that we had no choice but to be flexible. Right. That as we started our understanding of what this disease was, and understanding what this would mean to schools and to places of education, we had to pivot so quickly, and we had to learn what to do and how to educate students when we couldn't have them in front of us. And I think that we did some really fast learning. And what we discovered is that there are definitely some students who learn better in different types of environments, not the traditional brick and mortar schools that we have. And we have to be able to allow for them to explore that as an option of their education. Some actually are less distracted by being in class and more attentive and more focused when they are in a virtual environment. The opposite is the same. So we need to be able to have both options. And so I think that's an important piece. I think we have to, and I think this happened before the pandemic, certainly, but it is more relevant and more appropriate now that we really have to diversify our instruction. We need to make sure that in order to include all of our students and make sure that everyone has access to our curriculum and to all of the supports and the opportunities that education provides to them, that we diversify and that we find ways to do that in a way that is not overwhelming for our educators, because our educators have had to go through quite a shift, not only with COVID, but also before. And I think going forward, we're going to see that as well. We're going to see that continue. Teachers are they're not teachers of the past. We are not just opening our books and learning about mathematics and literacy. We are now educating children in social and emotional ways. We have to teach them other skills that they perhaps are not learning in other areas. And so that is new to our educators. That is new to the leaders of education. And so we are learning as we go of how to do that. And I think that's where the flexibility comes in. We must be flexible. We must be willing to think outside the box so that we can reach those children and those students and make sure that they are getting what they need.
It's absolutely so critical. I'm glad to hear you say that, and spot on with the flexibility piece. We cannot do business as we did pre-COVID and expect to have amazing results as all of us need. We've got to be flexible in our learning. And you talked about, what some folks call in some places blended learning, where you diversify the portfolio for children and so forth and so on. And we've been told, all of us have been told, that we are preparing children for jobs that don't exist right now, which means that they're futuristic in their planning and so forth and so on. So the more we can get into 21st century learning and away from 20th century learning, I think you're absolutely spot on and on point. So Dr. Hallett, let's say you had the opportunity, as I know you do probably every day, to influence a brand new aspiring educator. So somebody who wants to be a superintendent one day, that might be in the classroom or might even be in middle level school management or all of the above. What advice would you give them as they're aspiring to the superintendency?
I think one of the most important things, and I certainly would share this information because I learned it myself through my own journey to become a superintendent and to and in my first years of superintendency. For those of you who might not know this, I am in my third year as a superintendent, so I'm a newbie.
Okay, I'm in year 10, believe it or not.
There we go. So you're almost a newbie, a little bit more, a little more seasoned than me, but still. I would say the most important thing is to listen first and foremost. You need to listen carefully to people around you. You will learn more than ever by listening, not by jumping in and sharing what you think needs to happen, but by listening. That is the number one thing. The second thing I would share is you need to build positive relationships with all of your constituents, everyone around you. That means students, that means their parents, that means the staff, all the way from your assistant superintendent down to your custodian, everyone. You really need to understand what they do. Go through a job day with them, shadow them for a day. Do something that shows that you appreciate and understand the work that they do so that you can always be supportive to them if they have any sort of an issue. And the third thing I would say is once you have gathered that information, you've done a lot of listening and you have learned your district really well, or you've learned your role really well, then you can move forward in reaching out and trying to gather support towards change. And change is important, but you have to have that support. You have to have that buy-in. And the best way to do that, again, is through those positive relationships, but also high expectations, but high support. So if you're going to move on having your teachers work really hard to get literacy as, 80% of your students literate in reading and math, then you're going to have to do that by holding them to high expectations, but providing lots of support in the form of professional development, in the form of offering outside opportunities for them to collaborate, and a lot of different ways so that they feel not only supported, but also they feel encouraged and pushed. And that's where we want to go. And this goes all the way back to Vygotsky's zone of proximal development. You want to push everyone into that zone where they're a little bit uncomfortable, but uncomfortable enough to feel that they can still do it with support. So those are the things that I would share with any new aspiring educator, aspiring leader, or anyone who is headed into education. First thing, again, is listen. Second thing, get to know the people, really follow them, support them. And 3, high expectations and high support.
Awesome advice. I tell you what, that's a blueprint for what new educators need to, new superintendents need to be successful. Don't need to come in and start knee jerking a bunch of things, I call it, but come in and listen and learn and figure out who you are and what you are, and then help grow the district to where you want it to go together. I think that's amazing advice.
Right. And if I may, one of the other things I think, one thing that we learn is as superintendents, as you get to know your staff, you get to know your the folks in your district, you need to understand what some of their challenges are too. And I'll speak from Nantucket. One of the difficulties that we have is housing. Housing is a real problem here on the island. We have very high expenses around living here. It is, the median home price, I won't even share with you. It's outrageous. And so we need to support people when they feel very insecure about their housing. And that is something that I'm working very hard with the town to do. But listening to people and allowing them to share some of those challenges has to be part of your job as a superintendent, particularly in a small district like mine, because we have, again, we're isolated. And so we need to come together with the town and with each other to make sure that our teachers know they're being supported around things like housing and around the challenges that they may feel living in an isolated community. So that goes back to supporting new superintendents, but it also goes to some of the issues around retention and recruitment here on Nantucket. So just thought I would throw that in as well.
And we all are faced with that in most districts, but it sounds like you all have a unique challenge because of the high cost, if you will, to live just in housing. And so some districts are working through that by converting buildings into living quarters, kind of going back to, 19th or 20th century.
It's whatever we can do.
But what we do whatever we can do that works to try to make sure that we have teachers, as you're saying, and then we keep them to be able to service our children. And so I think what's important is that I would encourage all of our communities to make sure that we're taking care of our educators. If we're going to move forward and work, whatever we have to do to recruit and then retain and support our public school educators is so critical in today's society. So
absolutely.
Thank you for sharing that. Absolutely.
We are preparing the future. We are preparing the children who are going to be our leaders. They're going to be our, they're going to lead the future. And if we're not preparing them appropriately, then shame on us. It is our job to do that. And so we need the support, however, of our communities to make sure that we are able to do that. Our teachers work so hard. I'm sure you can attest to that. And we need to make sure that they are appreciated and understood as they go through this ever-changing world of education.
Absolutely. Amazing. Dr. Hallett, if you'll hold on with me for just a minute, we'll come back and close out the show.
Great.
To the Wright Experience audience, I want to thank you for being a part of this content. Once again, of course, as you see, I got an amazing leader doing some amazing work. Bit of a unique district, but certainly she's providing some amazing leadership to that district. And no matter where we are throughout the country, you see that we have some of the same challenges, yet some of the same successes throughout the United States. Public schools in this day and time need support and encouragement from those of you that are being serviced by our schools. If we look around in our communities and throughout the United States, we know that public schools are an integral part of the success of our nation. And so as we continue to educate children, young folks in the 21st century, we need your support. We need you to continue to help us be better each and every day. As the Wright Experience continues, in the month of March, I've got some amazing guests, which include a brand new deputy superintendent in the state of North Carolina. I also have a couple of guests that work specifically with improvements of curriculum and instruction throughout our United States. And so as we continue to move on, I hope that you continue to be a part of this content. I hope also that you will continue to follow us on Facebook Live and that you will commit to subscribing to our channel. It doesn't cost you anything, but certainly clicking that subscribe button helps keep us relevant in the world of YouTube. And so we provided and always have and will continue to provide multiple platforms for you to be able to view and hopefully enjoy this content. I'm absolutely grateful. We have completed 2 years doing this work, and we're into year 3. And tonight's episode is 91st episode. And so as we continue on, I'm certainly excited about the content. And I'm going to take an opportunity to do something really quickly. Our Crestwood High School boys basketball team is playing tomorrow for the state championship here in the state of South Carolina. And so that's why Dr. Wright has on a purplish tie tonight to represent our team. So Dr. Hallett, I'm hoping this time tomorrow night I'll be celebrating a state championship here in the state of South Carolina. And it will be our first for that school. So
fantastic. All the luck to your school. All the luck.
You.
Fantastic.
And the next time I come to see my beloved Boston Red Sox in Boston, I'll try to figure out how to. I don't think I'll swim to Nantucket, but I'll try to figure out how to get there for sure.
Hop on a ferry and come on over. We will welcome you with open arms.
Absolutely. But thank you so much for your insight and your input into our show. Certainly, we're proud of and respective of the amazing leadership that you're providing for your school district. And as I tell people all the time that are doing this work as colleagues, hang in there and always do the very best you can do for children and those folks that serve them, and we'll be all right.
Thank you. Such a pleasure and an honor.
And thank you. And so to the Wright Experience audience, I want to thank you for viewing the show tonight, and good evening.